Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm John Sable, and this is part 2 of our Forza Horizon 3 coverage from E3 2016. In our first video, which you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, I just drove the demo and allowed the demo to speak for itself, but this time around I'm going to give my impressions of not only the demo, but some of the other things that I learned and experienced about Forza Horizon 3 at the show. So before we delve deeper, let's look at the 30,000 foot view of Forza Horizon 3 and what it is. Horizon 3 will be arriving on the Xbox One and Windows 10 this September. This will be the first official launch on Windows 10 for a Forza franchise. Of course, you have Forza Motorsport 6 Apex on there, but that's a little more of a testing ground. But this is the first time that the Xbox One launch and Windows 10 launch will correlate with one another. And the special thing about having it both on Xbox One and Windows 10 is it will be cross-play compatible. So you'll be able to play on Xbox One and then save the game and then jump over to Windows 10 and play right where you left off, which sounds like a lot of work, but probably the bigger deal is that through crossplay, you can be playing on Xbox One and you can race online or play online with a friend who's on Windows 10, so that's a really neat feature. The specific launch dates are September 23rd worldwide for the Ultimate Early Access Edition and September 27th for the Deluxe and Standard Edition, again another worldwide launch. Forza Horizon 3 takes place in Australia on a map that's twice the size of Forza Horizon 2. Horizon 3 features over 350 cars and will have all the cars from Australia's motoring history. The developers were very keen to make sure they didn't leave any on the table. In particular, I asked about the V8 supercars since I assumed they had to be in-game, but it sounds like the supercars are going to be 3 of the 10 modern race cars that you'll receive if you purchase either the Deluxe or Ultimate editions of the game. So unlike Forza Horizon 1 and 2, in 3, you're in charge of the Horizon Festival. That means you're in charge of new gameplay such as danger sign jumps, convoys, drift zones. There's showcase events such as racing powerboats and zeppelins. You have control of setting all of those up. You can hire and fire your friends' drivatars or your friends based off if they're bringing more cars into your convoy or not, which honestly is a feature that really wasn't expanded, but I guess we'll find out more about that at launch. As always, you can customize your driver, car livery, and now in 3, you can add body kits, because race car. There's also 8 music stations in-game that you can listen to, or you can use your own music through Groove Music, which is essentially Microsoft's Spotify service, which I'm actually looking forward to. I like the idea that you can bring in your own music. Horizon 3 also features a 4-player co-op where you can play the campaign together, create bucket list challenges for one another, compete in the speed camera challenges, danger signs, jump, drift zones, etc. So pretty much get together with a few other friends and drive all over Australia to your heart's desire. So now that we have that 30,000 foot view out of the way, let's talk about this demo setup that I drove on. First up, the actual demo that I drove was the same demo that was shown on launch day, so nothing revolutionary there. The setup was a VRX motion simulator with a 4-post D-box setup at each corner. The wheel was Fanatec CSW V2 with Xbox Universal Hub and Forza Rim and stock Club Sport Pedal V3s. The game was projected on a 4K curved monitor that I believe was about 65 inches, and this was all ran on Acer Predator PCs. So yes, this was running on Windows 10. This was not running on the Xbox One. Which leads into our next topic, frame rate. So during my breakout session with the developers, I asked about frame rate and what could be attained. I was told that Windows 10 will run 1080p at 60 frames per second and can be unlocked, so you can run as many frames per second as your PC can handle. The PC can also run 4K, but only at 30 frames per second. Also on the PC, they are working on ultra-wide 21:9 aspect ratio, which, as a user of an ultra-wide monitor, has me very excited. And of course, I couldn't just leave it there with being an owner of a triple-screen ultra-wide setup, and I had to ask about triples, and the answer I got was basically, that would be nice eventually, so I'm not really holding my breath on triple-screen support on the PC. On the Xbox side, the game will only run at 1080p at 30 frames per second. No mention of 4K, even with the newly announced Xbox One S that can handle 4K. It should be pointed out that Forza Motorsport 6 ran at 60 frames per second, so kind of interesting that Horizon 3 is kind of backing that down to 30 frames per second. It makes you wonder if, just due to the environments and all the vegetation and whatnot, if they had to drop that back to 30. So back to the demo that I drove, and there are a couple quote-unquote trick things happening on this demo that I want to point out. First, this is a custom field of view that VRX requested. And for the record, I loved it. I thought it was perfect. And I loved actually being up in the dash instead of way in the back seat. So I pressed the developers if they were going to implement a view like this, or allow you to adjust the field of view, or at least move your seat back and forth, and this was met with a big maybe. At the very least, I did get the impression that they do recognize that a lot of people out there in the community want this feature, so I will say it does appear like it's at least on their radar. But for now, as this picture from the breakout session shows, the field of view still appears to be set well back, just like it was in Forza Motorsport 6, where you see a lot of the interior, which is nicely done, but it's difficult to see the outside world, which is what we're going for when you're driving. The other noticeable difference on the demo is the lack of wheel. This was also a custom request, and when I asked about it, I was met with yet another yeah, maybe type response. So again, I think this is a situation where you guys need to go and push for Turn 10 and Playground Games to implement this option where you can turn off the steering wheel or change the field of view, and maybe it's something that will eventually be implemented, at the very least, maybe implemented on the PC, since I could imagine that possibly changing the field of view could have an effect on frame rates, and as I mentioned earlier, the Xbox version is tied at 30 frames per second, and maybe that can't be adjusted there. But would love to see the ability to change field of view and turn that wheel off, because pretty much all the other major titles out there today, whether it's PC, console, everyone's doing it, and it's definitely the direction that sim racing or just general game racing is going. And speaking of wheels, I did ask the developers if it would be possible to run a non-Xbox compatible wheel on the PC version of Horizon 3. That answer was met with, well, we're not quite there yet, so it's hard to say. So that's kind of a big maybe for right now. Now, as far as the demo for itself, it was a lot of fun. Overall, I thought the physics were really solid. Of the three vehicles I drove, the Lambo was my least favorite. It did wander a little bit on track and I wasn't fully connected, but it wasn't terrible. But the truck and the buggy felt great on dirt and were a ton of fun, and definitely have me looking for going more off-road than on-road in Horizon 3. I also really enjoyed the force feedback in the demo. I wasn't very impressed with the force feedback in Forza Horizon 2. I thought it was pretty weak, but the Horizon 3 demo felt about the same as Forza Motorsport 6, which I think that's a good thing. Overall, I really hope that the demo is a sign of things to come for the rest of Horizon 3. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I did enjoy these events where you do something silly like chase a helicopter. I really thought it was fun, and I'm looking forward to more silly events throughout the rest of the game. And speaking of fun, what was also fun was the motion sim, which I felt was pretty realistic and was set up much better than the roller coaster that Darren experienced at E3 last year on Forza Motorsport 6. With that said, I got no indication of motion support for those of you that have motion systems at home, so at this point, it's an unknown. So when you do these shows or press events, it's very difficult to get a good handle on a new title with such limited time, but one thing that you can get a good impression of are the graphics. And I have to say, and I'm a little nervous to say this, but I think Forza Horizon 3 may be the best looking graphics I've ever seen in a racing title. I was blown away that I couldn't see any jagged edges at all. Everything just looked so smooth on the car, the environment. I couldn't believe how good it looked. I'm not just talking about the PC either. In the breakaway session, we were on an Xbox One running at the 1080p, and it just looked fantastic. Now, one thing graphic-wise that the development team has been pedaling pretty hard are the brand new skies. And you know what? They should be commended because they look fantastic. I mean, not only do they look great, but it's really cool that they do look super realistic. You can see all these different types of clouds roll through. Really saw a great demo where the weather came in, they changed a whole bunch in the lighting, and it just looked fantastic. And speaking of lighting, Horizon 3 utilizes PBR shaders, and like all other physics-based rendering shader titles out there, it looks great again. The PBR shading just does such a good job of picking up the matte finishes, the reflective finishes, and just everything in between. And again, it looks awesome. Hell, even the menus look nice. Going with the if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach with a refresh of the excellent Forza Motorsport 6 menus. Overall, I'm just really pumped about the graphics. I cannot think of another title today that looks better than what I saw this past week. Of course, I'm keen on getting it in my hands and spending more hours with it rather than just like an hour or two. But I saw it on the Xbox, I saw it on the PC, I saw it on 4K TVs, I saw it on a standard 24-inch monitor, and every time I couldn't see any jagged edges and it just looked so good. So wrapping up this impression spiel of Forza Horizon 3, and I have to say, I fancy myself as a pretty hardcore sim person. I don't play any games outside of racing games, and honestly, I normally don't dabble in more of these fun games and normally stays very much to the racetrack. But Horizon 3 has me excited. Between the events and just how damn pretty it is and being able to now drive it on my rig through Windows 10, I'm just really looking forward to this. Also the interaction with different friends, you can play online, we'll have to get the whole Inside Sim Racing team all racing together. I just think there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And not only is it fun, I mean from the driving aspect, overall I thought the physics were pretty solid and the force feedback felt well. So I know this isn't a hardcore sim, but if you need a diversion from your typical sim that takes a lot of work and setup and can be a grind, I really think Forza Horizon 3 is setting up to be a really awesome title, and I can't wait to get my hands on it in September. Thank you for watching this first impressions of Forza Horizon 3 from E3 2016. As always, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And also check out our website, isrtv.com. Also, we have a link to our Amazon affiliate program down in the description. If you want to go and add that into your favorites bar as your Amazon stop, that'd be fantastic. Anytime you buy something from Amazon, we get a little kickback and it doesn't cost you a thing. So, for Inside Sim Racing, I'm John Sable. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.